I was kind of standing off to one side looking. That's why I knew that I could look off these rocks that I was standing on right into this thing. That's why I knew, about the lights and the components and stuff. And then, I heard other people talking, and I turned, and there was a group of people coming up the arroyo from out on the plains from the south. They had come up there, and of course they walked up and was talking. And
how many?
There was an older man and 5 younger students.
Boys, girls?
There was 3 boys and 2 girls, and they were all, introducing, talking to my father and my uncle and my brother.
What did the older one look like?
The
man.
Leader of this group,
Yep.
the man. He was a very tall man, very big man. He was wearing a pith helmet when he first came up, one of those kind of explorer helmets. And he was bald, and I know that because he had taken it off and he had done this, a couple times with a handkerchief and put it back on. He was a balding man, and he had a round face. He was very ruddy complected. He was a big man, and he apparently was a doctor because they kept calling him doctor. And as I understand it, was an archaeological group that was out there on some kind of summer thing, and they talked, and he apparently was able to speak several foreign languages, and he tried to talk to this creature several times in different languages, again to no avail.
How did he happen to be there? Had he seen the thing?
Well, they claimed that they said they saw this thing come down the night before, flaming, and they thought it was a meteorite. And they had talked about, well, in the morning, we'll go over there and see this, where this meteor came down, because that's what they thought it was. And when the sun came up the next morning, and they got about their business and got up, and somebody looked over and said, they saw all the shiny metal and stuff across the plains there, and they realized it wasn't a meteorite, it may have been an airplane, and that crashed. So they all decided to go over there and see if there was anybody who was alive, that was hurt, that needed help.
They had driven over?
No, they walked over, apparently, the way I understand it. And it's quite a ways across that plain, so it had to take a very long time to do this. Or they may have had a vehicle, I don't know. That's an assumption, I think, on my part. They walked.
Okay, so they're around with your family.
But they came across the plains nonetheless. I'm not sure if they drove or not. I didn't hear any cars.
And then somebody else showed up.
Yeah, they were down there just, 15, maybe 20 minutes tops, and they were picking up things, some of the students, and this Dr. Buskirk, that they called him, this one girl went up and said, look, doctor, wouldn't this make a beautiful ring? And she was holding what looked like a red rod, or a red tube of some kind. It was kind of a silvery red. And he kind of snapped at her, put that down, Agnes, you don't know what that is. I think it hurts you. Just don't pick this stuff up. And she kind of said, well, yeah, okay, doctor. And then he went back to what he was doing, and she walked away and put it in her pocket. And a lot of them were doing this, sort of picking up things and feeling things. I was picking up things and feeling things. There was all kinds of material, metal, and stuff laying around. Then we heard it. We all heard it, a sound of a motor coming like a truck. And I went back up the incline there to the ridge line, and I could see out there, and there was a truck coming up. It was an old pickup truck. It was sort of a beige color or a tan colored thing. It had a whip antenna on it, and it stopped, and this guy got out, and he's wearing brown clothes. He's got boots on, and he's wearing a straw hat, just like the kind Harry Truman always wore. And he had wire-rimmed glasses. He was a big man, and he looked exactly like Harry Truman to me. And I'd seen in the movie tone news that
he was president then.
Yeah, I was well aware who Harry Truman was, so everybody was. He was kind of a hero, And this guy looked like him, except bigger. And I don't think he didn't look as old either. His hair was kind of light gray. And he walked over there, and they got to talking, with everybody. And he told them that he worked out on the plains out there, and that he made maps, and that he had seen the wreckage from out there on the plains, and he saw the people, and he thought it was a plane wreck, and just something was going on. And he came over there to see, and he hadn't been there but just a very, very few minutes when we heard all kinds of motors and engines straining and stuff, And here comes a military car with a big white star on the side of it, followed by a 6x, which is a military truck with a kind of a canvas wagon type canvas thing over it, and it's full of soldiers. They've got guns, and right behind that was what we call a 4x, which is like a medium-sized Jeep truck situation, and it had two big high whip antennas, all kinds of radio gear in the back, and a guy back there with earphones and stuff on, and he's, you know, working these radios, and they all pulled up and stopped. And
which direction did they come from?
They came from the north, from the Horse Springs area, right?
So they could have come off the highway there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's exactly how they got there. They come off the highway the same way we did. Well, in the meantime, when it stopped, this black soldier, the sergeant, and the reason I know he was a sergeant, my brother told me he was, and he got out of this car, and then a guy got out on the other side, and Glenn said he was a captain. He told me later he was a captain. And this guy had orange-red hair, and all the soldiers then came running over there, pointing guns at people, and telling them, get away, get away, get away, you know. And when this creature saw these people, the military, he went nuts. He went into an absolute panic, worse than what he did when he saw us.
Did he move around, or just his eyes? Or?
He just
went
crazy, and it was like he was looking
fearful.
like he was looking for a place to run and hide.
But he never got up.
Never got up. He never left the one injured one next to him. And this red-headed officer, this guy was a real butthole. He made all the threats. He threatened to have people shot if they didn't move
to
away.
everybody?
Oh yeah, get away, get away. You know, we'll shoot. Get away from there. This is a military secret. You know, just screaming and hollering. And he told my uncle and my father that if they didn't want to spend the rest of their life in prison, they would never say anything about what they saw there. If they ever wanted to see us kids again, they'd take the kids away, and they'd never see the kids, you know, meaning me and Victor, that we'd better keep our mouths shut. If we did not, this is what was going to happen. They were threatening people and pushing people. And
the students as well? And Dr.
Oh yeah,
Busker?
they were hustling everybody. And one of the soldiers pushed my uncle. He had a rifle, I guess, and he shoved him back like that. Well, that was something you don't do to my Uncle Ted. Ted had a violent temper, and he grabbed the rifle and reached over top and smacked this guy and dropped him right there. And Ted had dropped, if I had dropped the hat, this guy's a cowboy. He'll hit you in a minute. And of course, when he did that, there was bolts opened, and I guess cocking, you know, they were cocking their rifles, and they were pointing guns at people, and everybody, Busker and Glenn and Dad, grabbed him, you know, pulled him back and got him away. Don't, man, they're going to shoot. Don't do that, you know, trying to stop this. And I think we came very close to having someone shot. Then they really started threatening, you know, and they interviewed.
Well, did the redhead do all the talking pretty much too?
Pretty much, except once in a while the sergeant would chime in and make statements like that to other people in response to the redhead. But mainly it was the redheaded.
Was there a name tag?
Yes, there was, and his name was Armstrong. And I'm not sure if I know that from having read it or know that from remembering it, now being able to read it in my memory, or if someone said that to me. But his name was Armstrong, was right here on his uniform.
Now, they chased you guys away pretty quick.
Yeah, they did. And they herded us up like cattle, and they moved us up the Arroyo back in the direction we come from, over the protest of this Dr. Busker, who said, no, we've got to go the other way. We came from, I don't care where you came from, get your ass up the Arroyo. And they ran us up the Arroyo. And
so you get to your car then?
Right. Now, they take us up the Arroyo, and just below the hill that we came down, they broke us off and moved us up the hill. Now, this whole time, no one has ever frisked us down. No one has ever checked our pockets to see if we picked up any of this material. And this girl, Agnes, still has that stuff in her pocket, and some of the other students had stuff. To my knowledge, up to that point, they had not been searched. Whether they did so afterward, I don't know. They never searched us ever. They run us back up the hill, and when we got to where the car was parked, where Dad had parked the car up there, there's a Jeep with a guy sitting in the back, and there's a mounted machine gun in the back of this Jeep, and all these soldiers. The Jeep pulls out, we're told to get in the car, we follow the Jeep, and the soldiers go with us, all the way back out to the highway. And when we get back out to the highway, they set us right there. They wouldn't let us out of the car, they wouldn't let us move forward. I don't know whether they were making a decision or what. When we got out to the highway, this place was absolutely full of military personnel, military equipment. There was airplanes sitting out there that they had landed on the highway.
Did you see any airplanes when you were back at the site?
Yeah, there was airplanes in the sky, but nobody thought much about it. You know, I didn't think anything about it. I was used to airplanes being in the sky, having, you know, been raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, the home of the Northern bomb site. You know, the sky was always full of military aircraft. I never thought nothing about it. And when we get back onto the highway, there's observation aircraft, you know, high-winged aircraft, and there's one, what I know now to be a C-47 sitting there, and how we didn't hear that land's beyond me. And how he landed, well, of course, I guess you could land if you're a good pilot out there, because there was no telephone poles or anything. And it was, they had tore the fence down on the north side of that highway, and all this equipment was setting back up there, and that plane was up there, and they were taking stuff out of the plane. There was military ambulances, and there was trucks with wreckers, cranes on them, and there was tankers, like maybe had fuel or water in them. There was just, everywhere you looked, there was military. And
a major recovery operation.
Yeah, it looked like an invasion force. It really did. And they were all wearing these light khaki uniforms. They didn't look like, you know, olive drabs. They were light khaki, and they all had the same patch over there, that kind of blue funny patch with the circles on it was on their shoulder. And
Did you have any clue as to where they came from? Did your brother or your uncle?
No, I don't know where they came from. I don't think anybody ever ascertained that. There were a lot of them had MP patches, and some of them were wearing nightsticks off of these webbed utility belts. They had nightsticks, and they had 45s and holsters. You know, the automatics in the fold-over holster. And these were the people who were given most of the orders. They had the road barricaded off out there, and we sat there for a very long time, and, you know, we were getting thirsty and everything, and we asked, you know, if we could go back to Horse Springs and get some water. Oh, no, you can't go through there. And right after that, they said, no, you just turn around, and you head out of here now, and you go to Socorro, and this is a redhead again, you keep your mouth shut, just keep going, and don't look back. Well, so we drove away, you know, and Dad and I said, hell with it, we'll go to Magdalena, we'll get water in Magdalena, you know, because that's where John Trujillo lived, their relative of Ted. And so as we drove away, I was looking out the back window, and I could see Dr. Buskirk and these kids, and that guy that got out of the pickup was standing there, and this Dr. Buskirk was doing just like this in this red-headed officer's face, and he kept pointing back behind him. And I guess that meant, you know, we got to go back that way, and he was fed up with this guy or something. He was shaking his finger in his face while they were yelling at each other. And that's pretty much the last I saw of the whole situation. I don't know what happened after that, because we just kept going.
Did you get home before dark?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was before dark. Of course, it was in the summertime, so it didn't get dark until way late. And we stopped in Magdalena very briefly, and, you know, and then just kept going. And the adults were really funny, you know, they were really scared. And I had very rarely, you know, well, of course I didn't know him that well, but over the years I knew that Ted was not much of a disciplinarian. He really didn't discipline the kids that much. But he really knocked the fire out of little Victor. Victor wanted to talk about what we just saw. I just saw him. Ted kept telling him, shut up, don't talk about it. Nobody's talking about this. Finally, he just turned around and knocked the living hell out of Victor for shooting his mouth off.
Did Ted work at Sandia then?
Yes, he did. He did something out there in the technical area. I don't know.
Had a clearance?
Yes. And
later your dad worked out at Sandia?
Yes, he did. Security. And he worked there for years.
Until he retired?
Until he retired. And Dad had some very high clearances.
Okay.